Welcome, everyone, to Reliving, the extreme Nate Maxson, your host here with you, along, of course, with my brother Aaron.
No.
And Mr. Chad Austin as well.
What up, fella?
This week, we're going to be reviewing the episode of ECW from April the 9th, 1996. It's going to be a tough one to get a long episode out of, but...
Talk slow.
It is what it is. The one thing I did want to touch on, we haven't had it's been a lot of kind of quiet years as far as like salacious controversy in pro wrestling, since like
kind of
80s,
show.
90s. And all in the span of a couple of weeks, we have the Vince McMahon sex scandal thing. And then this past week, holy shit, Billy Jack Haynes killed his wife.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that I'm reading, or that I couldn't find the one thing that I had read that was kind of a local post about it from someone that was like, I don't know, lived in the neighborhood or whatever. But I know Billy Jack is 70. His wife was 85.
Good Lord. Are you sure he killed
her?
Yeah.
And the one person that was posting, and again, I don't know, it's the internet, but I had seen somebody had a theory that it was a mercy killing because the lady had dementia, and like Billy Jack had talked about if it ever got that bad, she wanted him to offer. I don't know. I mean,
I watched some local news stuff about it, and they were all saying how nice Billy Jack was. But I mean, obviously Billy Jack Haynes is not mentally healthy either. All you have to do is watch any of his All you have to do is watch any of his shoots, and then just all the other stuff that he talks about. So he's mental. He's probably got dementia. It's two mental people living in a house together. And honestly, a lot of times if it's a mercy killing, I don't know if it's, I don't know. I don't like the one guy that was interviewing him was like, I was a wrestling fan and I'd go down and talk to Billy Jack, and he told me that if it wasn't for his injury, he'd be bigger than Hulk Hogan. And just, it's like, he's insane. And I don't know. I just think it's a bunch of people around him that don't want to believe it because they thought he was not even if they thought he was a nice guy. It's just your neighbor. You don't expect your neighbor to shoot his wife. You know what I mean?
I got a completely, like, when I heard about this dude, I was completely blown away. I lived with the guy. I mean, I lived with him for like 8 months, and nothing, none of this. He was so nice, dude. We opened up a wrestling school together.
When was that?
When I was in Memphis.
Okay.
So was that was that 96? He kind of ended up staying at Bull's house too. All right, it's when he was like in between USWA and Smoky Mountain. They kind of when they were working together. So he basically had work, 5-6 days a week. So he was working in between them. So he was staying there, and he was just. We never talked. I never really talked to him. Dude, I wanted to so bad. Talk to him about Portland, and all that other stuff. But we ended up just being friends. And the only thing he ever told me that was a little bit odd was he drove all the way to Portland to Texas because he was going to kill Harley Race. And he did. He said he drove all the way from Portland to Texas with a gun, and he ended up I think he ended up breaking down like right when he got into Texas. And then I think he got caught, or he got arrested or something down there, I guess with the gun or something. But he literally said, I was going to fucking kill Harley Race.
What did Harley do to him to make him want to kill him? Do you know?
It was something about a territory that they worked in or something. He cost him some money somehow or something, but he didn't really get too much into it because I don't want to be a witness.
Right.
I don't want to know too much of that stuff. But I mean, like, literally he was a yes sir, no sir guy. Really nice, everything. And even when he left, like he rolled out in the middle of the night, and he left a note on Bull's counter with $100. and thanked. Nobody paid to stay at Bulls. Everybody just chipped in, like you know what I mean.
Right.
Food, anything. If you had, it was no rent. It was when the when the electric bill came, everybody pitched in. So it was that kind of house there. But yeah, he just rolled out like in the middle of the night at the $100. We were like, wow, what a cool guy, man. And he was as cool as could be. And then he just kept hearing more and more stories. And I'm like, how do I get mixed up with these people? I got mixed up a year before that with Bruiser Bedlam. You know what I mean? Look how that turned out. And now I'm hobnobbing with Billy Jack Haynes. And look where that and New Jack. And look where that got me.
I seriously believe that he obviously has mental brain issues. And I mean, he did that whole interview where he had all the supposed facts that Vince McMahon killed the Benoits, and because Daniel or the little boy was Vince McMahon's love child with Nancy, and it's just he went insane.
Yeah.
And then you get down to the Stone Cold piece of shit video where he's wearing the blonde wig, and
yes, all that.
I think it was too mentally. Two
Dude,
people
Portland is
with
not
brain issues living in a house together is a bad
Portland
idea.
is a weird place, dude. That northwest territory, like not a whole lot of stable people come out of there.
I think it's probably Washington and Oregon. To live there is probably fucking depressing. Like it's always cloudy, it's always raining.
And the other reason I think it wasn't a mercy thing is because most people that do mercy killings, they don't. Once they do it, they just say, I did what I did or whatever. He did like a standoff with the cops.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like he was in that house for like hours without coming out. Most mercy killing people rationalize in their brain what I did was okay and would probably just give themselves up.
Oh, there's a bunch of ways you could have did it. I mean, you could have had her write a note, or I mean, even though I'm not saying it would hold up in court or anything, right. But you could call the police and have them on the phone while you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? And be like, hey, look, she wants me to kill her, and here she is. yeah, I want him to kill me. And
and the lady
there's a million ways you could have done it, but yeah, just say it was a mercy killing. But
the other person on the news, the other person on the news that I watched, she said she was staying with that lady because Billy Jack was in the hospital for an unrelated thing, and then came back from the hospital and then told that lady, go ahead and take off. I got it from here.
Oh, he does.
Like you're gonna tell me in that whole time that lady wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna have Billy Jack put me down or whatever. I think the mercy killing thing is it's the first thing that he probably popped into his head.
Oh, and yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I just knew that was what I had read, that it wasn't like I don't know. I don't know that it wasn't like a domestic dispute or anything. What I think was, even if it was, what I want to say, in his mental capacity, he probably does think. Like he thinks he's, you know what I'm saying? Like in his mental capacity, he probably thinks that he was doing her a favor. And he really does think that. But it's wild, man.
This guy's going to wind up in court, and his lawyer is going to just be like, absolutely not. Do not take that stand. Do not take the stand. And
he's going to be wearing
tell your lawyer,
wig.
Yeah, he's going to be wearing that blonde wig. And even if your lawyer tells you to not take the stand and you want to take the stand, they can't stop you. You know what I mean?
Dude, he's going to raise his hand.
The lawyer has to say, like lawyers will have to stand up in court and say, like, against my direction, he wants to like testify on his own behalf, because that way, if it goes south, he can't come back and say that he got misled by his attorney. You know what I mean?
Could you
he's gonna get up there.
He's gonna get up there and start calling Brady Boone as a character witness.
Yeah, just imagine you're the lawyer.
It's gonna be insane.
You're the lawyer, and you're defending him. And you're defending him, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, out of the corner of your eye, you see Billy Jack Haynes' hand come up. like for the judge to recognize what has to be going through that lawyer's mind. Like, oh no, Your Honor. And that's when the lawyer just puts his hand on his face and just goes, 26 years I've been doing this, 30 years.
He's ended up blaming Stone Cold or Vince McMahon. It's gonna be a fucking disaster. If he gets on that stand, it's gonna be a fucking disaster.
Dude, it's got to be aired.
I want to see every minute of it.
Yes, you do, dude. It has to be aired. Oh, that is something else. I mean, what a year this has been so far.
Yeah, no shit.
God,
what a year the past month and a half has been.
Yes, it's not even a half yet. It's just been a month and a few days. God damn.
Yeah, we went from Vince getting fired, then the best angle in wrestling in like 20 years, and then fucking Billy Jack Haynes murdering his wife. What's gonna happen next?
Yeah, what's gonna happen next?
Well, it didn't happen on this show.
No, it did not. This episode of EC, and I wrote down here, it's not a bad episode of the show.
Nope.
It's essentially the entire almost 45 minutes of the show revolves around one match. And again, for a television viewing, that's not a bad thing. For a television review show, that is a bit of a challenge. So if this show's a little shorter this week, folks, it is what it is. But
I wonder when that was taped. That's what I'd like to know. I wonder if that was taped the same week as me at like the New Jack from last week's stuff. I mean, I wouldn't know because I don't really watch the shows or that kind of stuff while I was there. But I wonder if that was the same night. I don't remember meeting Brian Lee. I met him at Smoky Mountain, but I don't remember meeting him in ECW. It's just like half the guys that were there, I just don't remember meeting them there. Mm-hmm. Much like last week's show.
I'm trying to check here. Let me see. historyofwwe.com.
Well, that was Brian Lee's first match, right?
Yeah, this is definitely his first appearance in ECW.
Okay, because I wrote that down because I wanted to ask you that.
All right, let's see. New Jack.
So he's fresh. He's fresh out of doing the Undertaker angle, or had he already did it yet? Because his hair was red. He already did it?
Yeah. It was like a year ago.
I just looked here. ECW Arena, March 30th, 1996. The New Jack and Mustafa defeated Blue Meanie and Chad Austin. And then also, yes, on this card as the main event, Shane Douglas, Tommy Dreamer, and Sandman versus Raven, Ron, and Don Harris. So yeah, it was on the same show.
Okay. Wow, what a night that was. Good Lord. The fans got their money's worth, I guess. I don't think there was any matches. It was just like a 3 hour just nonstop run out there. That's what it seemed like to me anyway. But yeah, it wasn't a bad show, especially if you're just a viewer sitting at home, watching it, because it was nonstop. It was just chaos from beginning to end.
Yeah, they're telling a story throughout. When we open the show, they open the show with the Eliminators promo from last week, talking about the Gangstas, because that's the new feud, is the Eliminators and the Gangstas for the tag titles. We cut to the ring. Joey Styles is in the ring, introduces us, welcomes us to the ECW arena. And then Raven, Kimona, the Bruise Brothers, and Dr. Mark Allen come to the ring.
Gout and all.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is the funny thing is, like, do you think when they said a couple of weeks ago that he had the gout, they were ribbing? Because now they're actually saying, this was like a serious foot injury that needed surgery. They aren't mentioning the gout anymore. So I was wondering if, like, a couple of weeks ago.
I think they just said the gout thing because it was a joke, and they probably didn't know his foot was as fucked up as it was. You know what I mean? I mean, he probably went.
I also,
like, oh shit, he's really fucked up.
I also kind of thought in a way that it was a way for him to introduce the boot gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
Because that became like he got that from the grappler in Portland. And if you notice, he is wearing the black sole and the white sole boots.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So I kind of I don't know. I never asked him, never questioned it. I mean, because what I thought I had was the gout. And I know my goddamn it hurts so bad. Like just to do anything, even to not do anything, it hurts so bad. Because I was just thinking, like, I wonder if it is the gout. Because it would be hard as hell to wrestle. But if you notice, he really didn't do much.
Well, I think he might have actually legitimately fucked his foot up, is because by the time he gets to WCW, and they did when he first got there, they showed his boots, and like he had one boot that was like more elevated, like heel wide, like the sole, and they said it was because he had uneven feet or whatever. And I think he actually fucked up his foot, and I think the surgery they did on it, like he probably lost some bone out of it, I think. And
so you're thinking it was a shoot?
Just use that as I don't. Like, I think he legitimately fucked his foot up, and luckily the style that he worked in ECW, I mean, Raven had shit working around him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Raven didn't do a lot in the ring. It's just all the shit happened around him, and then he just ended up pinning somebody. And so, I mean, it didn't really slow him down being hurt. But yeah, I think his foot was really fucked up.
Yeah, well, Christ, look, Aaron. At one point, when the brawl was going on, he was laying in the corner, and Kimona was basically laying on his lap, like she was kissing him. Like when all this mayhem's going on, Raven's just sitting there. She had some popcorn. Like he was just sitting there in the corner while all this shit was going on.
Like, I watched an interview with him, and he talked about fighting Sandman was his favorite, because Sandman fall off of this, Sandman would fall off of that. I'd hit him with a trash can, and then I'd pin him. Like, it was great.
Yeah. Dude, that sounds like Scotty, dude. That definitely sounds like Scotty to me. Yeah, that was some shit. But I always thought that was part of him introducing that foot thing, but I don't know. Scotty, he never told the truth anyway. Even because he was always ribbing and goofing around and just fucking with you. So you never knew when he was being, honest or anything. But yeah, I guess he was fucked up. Who knows?
But we get, like I said, we open the show with the segment with Mark or Dr. Allen telling us that Raven had to undergo the surgery to reconstruct his foot after the damage Shane Douglas did to him 2 weeks ago. Then the Sandman hits the ring and says Raven can wrestle with a broken foot if he can wrestle drunk. Good logic. Good logic from the Sandman.
Right. What you would expect. Hey, by any chance, did any of you two take a note of what all the doctors said was in Scotty's foot? Good Lord. Where in your foot is there enough room for all that stuff?
It was like 27 screws, 2 plates.
Yeah. It was like all kinds of stuff. It was like Jericho's list of moves. Like he rolls the scroll down and the doctor's just reading off. I'm like, this is all in the dude's foot?
There's like Redunzel in there?
Yeah. Yeah, but the Sandman, what was it? The Sandman comes out. I mean, what this is all just a fucking big schmaz.
Yeah, because then Raven and Bruise Brothers attack Sandman. Douglas comes out. Tommy Dreamer comes out. And then, like Chad was alluding to just a minute ago, we get our first appearance in ECW of primetime Brian Lee, who comes in and helps to attack Tommy Dreamer.
And like Aaron said, that was fresh off the Undertaker angle, right? Or not fresh, but it wasn't too far gone, right?
Yeah, about a little over a year. But He also, I don't remember. I guess my timing's off because he was in Smoky Mountain before WWF, before he did the Undertaker thing. And then in between the Undertaker thing and ECW, did he go to Memphis at all?
I would have thought he would have worked at Memphis while he was in Smoky Mountain.
Because I mean, because he didn't go back to Smoky Mountain because I watched Jim Cornette talk about him, and Vince called Brian Lee about becoming the Undertaker, and he said he could start right away. And Vince was like, "Well, don't you have I know you're working for Cornette in Smoky Mountain. do you have anything to finish up there? And he was like, nope, as soon as you need me, Vince. And Vince called Cornette and told him. And then he goes, and just so you know, Corny, he told me that he'd leave right away. So you can't trust him. And Vince was basically like, I'm gonna get rid of him as soon as because they promised him that they were gonna keep him. And then when he just left Cornette with no notice, Vince was like, well, if you did it to him, he could do it to me. So they used him for that Undertaker shit. And then we're like, peace, dude. You're untrustworthy. So I know he left Vince, and then he probably didn't go back to Smokey. He might have went to Japan. I don't
Actually,
know.
no, I just looked it up while you were talking. After SummerSlam 94, he returned to the USWA. It was in the USWA that he first teamed with his real-life cousins, Ron and Don Harris. So, yeah, so he did. He went to Memphis after the Fed, and then now he's in ECW.
Yeah, I knew he was real-life cousins with the Harrises. I knew that. Well, it was a hell of a debut, I guess.
Yeah, because they throw it to the locker, or Joey throws it to the locker room. The Bruce Brothers and Brian Lee, pretty much doing the yelling and screaming shit. You don't know what they're saying, while Raven's screaming about his foot, and it's just insanity back in the locker room with Raven and his cronies.
Anything to keep Raven from doing any work. God, he's so good at that, dude. Just surrounding himself with everybody else that can do all the work. My God. Well, then, what do we
Aaron,
get?
Did you have any comments on that?
No, because it's like you said, it was just a bunch of random yelling, and like I said, I don't mind Brian Lee, but I don't care for the Bruce Brothers. So,
well,
I love the Bruce Brothers.
They show the entrance ramp or the entrance curtain with two fugly people, a fugly lady and a fugly dude standing on either side of it for about 45 minutes or 45 seconds to a minute.
They look like Bob's Burger characters, or where everything was just kind of drawn a little bit off. Like, what is going on?
For all I know, it could have been my wife and her new boy.
Yeah. Well, they were people that got they didn't get, let's put it this way. They didn't get paid to work the show.
Well, they probably paid Paul.
That one guy, the guy was there all the time. I knew who the guy was. I don't know his name, but I just know he was there all the time. And he would always hang around. Like, I think he would help put the ring up sometimes and tear it down or look for something to do. I can't remember his name. I don't even know if I ever knew it, but I just know he was always there.
I guarantee you, if it was 2024, he would be carrying a replica championship belt as well.
Pretty much. Well, hell, if it was another year or so later, he'd probably be carrying a mannequin head. He had to do that, right? Good Lord. He probably brought a cookie sheet every show for New Jack.
At a wrestling convention, there's nothing worse than a fat fuck neckbeard walking around with a championship belt like he won it. They always, whenever they put it on, they always walk around like they're impressive. It's like, you're not impressive.
I love that dude's meme or whatever it says. If you walk around with a belt over your shoulder, you should be forced to defend it.
You have to defend it. Yeah.
That's the best. It's like a 24/7 title for neckbeards.
Like, I have belts that I have on display, and I've taken them to conventions in my bag to have them signed, but I don't walk around the convention with my winged eagle WWF championship around my waist.
Like you pinned Bret Hart?
Yeah.
At the Garden? You talking how you went 25, 35 minutes with Bret Hart? Well, you must have drove him then. Because you certainly didn't work him.
No, it's more like you took a big shark at the Olive Garden. That's what you did.
Good Lord.
Now, speaking of big sharks, the next thing that we see on this show is Joel Sharkgood heading to the ring.
Little shark.
My boy.
He's supposed to be having a match with the Broad Street Bully. This is supposed to be a quote unquote standby match because the champion Raven has decided not to hit the ring yet. So, but as they're about to have their match, Axel Rotten comes to the ring, takes out Broad Street Bully with a barbed wire bat, and proceeds to just take the match from him. And then it's Axel versus Joel Hartgood.
after he beats him up and pins him, whatever. Did you notice what Axel said while he was standing there? Like you could hear Mike pick him up, and he was like, "Standby match." I'll give you a standby match or some shit like that. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. I would love to take a picture if we had cell phones back then of what the run sheet looked like posted on the locker room door for this event. If it had anything put on it at all, it just had the show's date. And a list of names of what order you're running out for some,
For here's the order you're running out for some nonsense. Here you go.
Yeah. It wasn't even a meeting. You didn't even talk to the guy beforehand. It said, "Oh, you guys are running out for nonsense. Just look for somebody to beat you up."
Well, Axel was here, or he was in ECW for a while, and then as we noticed after the thing with Ian died down, he kind of went away for a while, and now he's back. And I think we're to the point now where he's pretty much back until the end. I don't think he disappears anymore from the promotion that I can remember.
I don't know where he went. I can't remember where he went.
I don't know.
Japan.
I don't know either. But like I said, I just noticed that once the Ian thing died down. He wasn't featured for at least, I don't know what, 4 to 6 months. And then now the past few tapings, he's been back. And like I said, I think now he's in it till the end at this point. We're going to see him.
I do know that at some point, if he hadn't gone to Japan in between that absence or whatever, I do know that Ian had started running shows, not the IWA as you know it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like spot shows. And I knew Axel was being brought in, and like literally I remember Axel laughing about like how much he charged Ian. And I'm like, dude, that's like your best friend, and you're laughing about how you're ripping him off. Yeah, so Axel was kind of all over the place. Like for a while, like right around there. Yeah, so I guess he's back in the stay but Paul needed I guess we needed a bit. Well, I was gone by then, but we needed a solid mid-card guy, right? I mean,
right.
Everybody else is involved in that upper tier stuff with Shane and Raven and saying, other than that, where Public Enemies, gangsters, they're doing there's nobody in the middle. Axel was always great for that.
Right.
Always.
Yeah. And he can be a face, he can be a heel. He can fit any role you need him to. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Aaron, any comments on this whole little segment here, the in-between?
I was trying to look up where he fed. I think he'd always been there. I think if we'd be watching some of, which I'm cool with that we're not, but I think if we'd be watching some of those super shows or whatever, we'd be seeing him more. I don't think he was doing a lot on TV. I think he was like in the arena act more, from what I can gather, because it doesn't really say he went anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, he probably ended up down with Ian.
So now,
as far away from him as possible.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, I know he was paying him big money. I know that.
We now get Lance Wright with the
Hype Central.
Hype Central, yeah, and he talks about how the ECW fan of the week is Brian Pillman's lawyer. And essentially the gist is Pillman has to wrestle. Pillman has to wrestle, whether he wants to or not, whether he's injured or not. We need him to wrestle. And the reality of the situation is, I don't know if he actually ever does. We're gonna find out.
He doesn't.
I didn't think so. I was like, I don't think they ever even paid off Pillman and Douglas.
He never had a match.
He had that accident before they could do it.
Yeah, Pillman had never had a match in ECW. Hell, he never had a match in WWE either, did he?
They had a lot of matches in WWE.
He did. I just thought he did the psycho shit.
Yeah, he did. He didn't. What do I want to say? He didn't wrestle extensively in WWE, but once he started with the Hart Foundation thing, he did that. He did that feud with Goldust, and so I mean, he didn't have any.
I guess he shouldn't say a lot of matches, but
at that point, he wasn't. He also wasn't. He wasn't wrestling like the Brian Pillman, you saw in like 1989 to 1993. That's for sure.
Against Liger.
Yeah.
Like they had to basically fuse his legs.
Best Lex Luger match ever. Best match Lex Luger ever had was with Brian Pillman. I think it's at a Great American Bash. I can't remember.
Baltimore.
Yeah, it was when Luger was the US champ and he was a heel US champ. And it just like Pillman's just his random opponent for that night. He's going to lose, but that's the best match I've ever seen Luger have. But anyway,
I gotta look for that then.
I always heard Pillman was the type of guy that if you told him he couldn't do something, he'd do it. So I bet they probably told him, they're like, you can't get anything out of Lex. And he was like, fuck you, I'm gonna get something out of him.
Well, that probably isn't what Pillman meant by that. Because that was the same thing that Eddie Gilbert used to go by. If he told me I can't do something, but it wasn't like get a good match out of somebody. It was like go out of the ring, or you know what I mean, or blade, or something. I don't think he sat there and said, "Watch this, I'm going to get a good match out of Luger." I don't think that was his intentions. But you never know, dude. He's a strange fella.
There's only 3 guys that ever were able to do it. Let's get something out of Luger. And it was Pillman, Steamboat, and Flair. That's it.
What about Hanson?
What about Brody? He ran away from Bruce Brody.
And Hanson just beat him up. Like he didn't run away, but he just beat him up.
And the funny thing about that is to my personal favorite personal favorite piece of business Lex Luger's career was when he was the heel champion with Harley Race and Mr. Hughes, that whole act. But during that time, he wasn't having great matches. But I just remember as however old I was at what was that, 91, after Flair left. So 91.
Right when Flair left.
So I'm like 13 years old, and like I thought Lex Luger was cool as shit during that run back then. I thought, and again, back at 13, I'm probably not thinking about match quality anyway. I'm just looking at the show.
And honestly, as a heel, it's not terrible for him to be that type of wrestler, but just in general, just the guy. This isn't a Lex Luger show, but anyway,
we needed to fill time, right?
We needed to pad it. So.
Hey, speaking of the big cat, Mr. Hughes, I heard his name got mentioned on one of John McAdams' pods. I think he had something to do with the training of The Rock's daughter. Because I was sitting at the table listening to like the show, and all of a sudden I heard like she was sent down to somewhere. He had a school, and he said with the big cat, and the guy who was doing the show with him said, "Ernie Ladd." He said, I don't think it was Ernie Ladd. And he goes, no, Curtis Hughes. And my ears peaked up, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Curtis Hughes? May have had something to do with The Rock's daughter.
I just see him sitting outside the ring in like one of those wooden folding chairs, and the 2 people in the ring are like, hey, Curtis, how'd we do? And he's just
sleeping.
That's exactly how Billy Jack ran his school.
My narcolepsy kicked.
Billy Jack sat there outside the ring. I was the guy in the ring doing all the work. And Billy Jack was the one getting the money. So, yeah, he probably ran that kind of school. My name's on it. Big Cat. Big Cat Wrestling Academy. Good Lord. You got to be a fool.
It's called the Cat Box.
Yeah, the litter box.
The Cat Box.
Good Lord.
Well, let's see. All right, let me get back into my notes here. Now we actually get Raven coming to the ring,
limping.
Mona, yes, and the Bruise Brothers, who are kind of carrying him to the ring as he's limping.
Come to the Cat Box, where we teach you how to clump and bump.
Clump.
Clump and bump.
I smell a meme coming. Archie. So yeah, we got Raven coming out now. What
they
was
essentially
this? Hang on, was this a setup? Like, was this the setup for the match, or was it just still a spillover from everything?
I think this once we get Raven come into the ring, I think this is all one. But you can tell that Paulie was like, all right, there's 6 of you, well, plus the extracurricular people like Stevie and Meanie and stuff. You guys, we're going to fill 45 minutes with this shit because Raven has his entrance. And then they do a long entrance for Tommy. They do a long entrance for Sandman. They do a long entrance for Douglas. They all start up in the bleachers and work their way down to the ring. So everybody gets a big long entrance. And, the live crowd, ECW arena, not WWE network music, actual real recordings of the music, getting the fans hyped up. The long entrances are a good thing for an arena show. I don't know so much for TV, but inside the arena, it's cool. It sets the atmosphere. People are, they like the music. They like the wrestlers. I can see why they did it.
Well, yeah, you got stuff going on in like all corners of the arena. Your heads are constantly turning. They'll spotlight to the entrance, Sandman, spotlight to the Eagle's Nest, Shane, or what, you know what I mean? It was constant, nonstop something going on. So yeah, it was definitely good if you were in person.
The only problem I got with it is that like Sandman's got his gimmicks, like he's got beer and cigarettes and his cane and everything. So if the camera's on him too long, it's all right because he's got shit to do. But when it's on like Shane, he's just like standing up at the Eagle's Nest.
With his
There's
fingers.
only so many times you can do the triple threat and point at people before you're like, all right, dude,
do something
down. Like you're just standing there like a dildo. Let's
yeah,
move on.
You're like Backlund in the singlet. Do something.
It's like do something. Jesus.
Well, now I pretty much just answered my own question because it just popped in my head now anyway. Because I do remember they got the graphic for the 6-man. Now that when I asked if it was a scheduled match, yeah, they had the graphic for it. Mm-hmm. Unless they somehow just threw it up all out of nowhere. I guess we got a 6-man match now. Fuck it.
And we'll get into some of the specifics of the match, but I wrote down a question that I wanted to ask you guys, especially you, Chad, because you were a worker. I am not, never have been. So I'm going to ask you as a worker about a logic thing here. So this is your standard ECW. Everybody's fighting all over the arena. There's cracking each other with fucking chairs and cheese graters and frying pans and dinosaurs and whatever. And that's fine. That's all well and good, okay? It's a great spectacle. But because they made it that type of match, isn't the hot tag in and out thing and stuff kind of silly? To be honest, like this, we have this big hardcore crazy match and Shane Douglas is waiting patiently holding the tag rope for a hot tag. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Why didn't Joey bring that up? Like, especially when the Harris boys tagged. Because first off, the one Harris boy didn't have the tag rope. He was just on the apron. Like, halfway down the ropes. The other Harris boy just reaches out and tags him. You know what I mean? After they had just done all this, it somehow broke down into a tag team match like that. Yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of logic sense to me. How did John Finnegan restore order? I guess.
Well, I mean, it's the same way as it's the same way as there's times when they'd have like the manager in ECW distract the referee so that heel could hit somebody with a weapon. It's like, why do we need to distract them?
Yeah, referees just standing there watching it.
Or ECW, they like later on they're gonna be like, we're having a ladder match. Ladders are legal in this match. It's like, I think they're legal in every match.
Every match.
Yeah, I didn't know anything was illegal.
Except like one of my matches or Tony Stetson or Donnie Howard. No weapons, guys. We'll send the weapon out. 911. Yeah, it didn't make any sense, honestly.
my notes for the match are all over the place because the match is all over the place. And again, it's not bad. It's entertaining. It's very long. Aaron, Chad, did you guys have any specific spots or anything that you took notes on that you wanted to bring up?
Nope. Typical. Just typical. What you would expect, right, Aaron?
Yeah, like they really don't really have much except for there is one point where I think somebody goes through a table or whatever, and Styles says, "If I was an aging fossil right now, I'd say this is a slobber knocker or whatever, or bowling shoe ugly." It's like they slamming JR. It's like Jesus.
Yeah, they did. I caught that. Yeah, I caught that as well. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why they want that. They want that one little jab. It was all it was.
And not just that. But if we're gonna take jabs at a wrestling product during 1996, let's take some jabs, especially during this time. Let's take some jabs at WCW because they deserve it.
Well, that's fine, but my thing too is like, how about you don't take a jab at the guy that's like helping
The best,
keep you?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like attack Vince or something, but leave JR alone.
That very well could have.
We got keeping you in business.
That very well could have been Paulie telling him to say that because Paulie.
Well, I know it was. I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying if I was Paul, I'd be like, I'm not gonna make fun of the guy that got me hooked up with fucking $2,000 a week or whatever.
Yeah, not to mention all the guys that he got jobs for that were there. Jesus.
But yeah, essentially this match, like I said, it's all over the place. The one thing they did do that I thought was a nice touch was they like Aaron and Chad both mentioned, Raven, the king of having to do as little work as he possibly can, you know, and the story of the match is he's got his thugs, his crew working for him. You got Brian Lee involved. Of course, he's teaming with the Bruise Brothers. Stevie Richards and Meanie are out there. So Raven doesn't really have to do much for most of the match, which is the point. And then the other thing that I thought was cool to keep the match going and keep the drama going is, if you notice throughout the match, at one point at any time throughout the match, one of the faces, I guess you call them faces, ECW faces heels is a cloudy thing, but on the Dreamer, Douglas, Sandman team, at any point during the match, at any time, one of them is at some point either sidelined, they're back in the back brawling with someone, they've been, taken out of the match. So the heels constantly have the advantage. So that's essentially the drama of this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much it was so much going on. Yeah, people would disappear, and like you say, go back into the locker room and all that stuff, because it would always be like a focus on something.
Yeah.
Didn't at one point, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not. I don't know how it happened, but at one point Shane was standing on a table, it was below the Eagle's nest. It was by the Eagle's nest, but it was on the ground.
Yes.
And all of a sudden he disappears. Did he fall through the table, or
I think the table broke. I actually wrote that down. Yeah, I did write that down. My note just says Shane Douglas table mishap. So yeah, I think maybe he was standing on it and there was supposed to be a spot of some kind and the table just broke.
Yeah, because
you're right. He just disappeared like it was a Looney Tunes, and he just fell into the hole in the floor, in the ground. Yeah,
I didn't know if somebody was on the table when he was standing on, or what. I just saw him just drop, and it was like I wrote it down. I was hoping that one of you guys caught it as well.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody on there with him.
Who knows? Could have been that fat guy from earlier with the neck beard.
Tommy?
He thought he was holding it up for him.
So let me see here. As far as the finish goes, low blow by Dreamer. Dreamer hits pile driver on the door. There's a door. But anyway, Sandman essentially the story of the finish is the Sandman saves Tommy Dreamer from getting pinned.
That was the joke. That was the joke, because they take the door and Styles says, if I was some aging fossil, I'd say Katie bar the door right now. But here in ECW, we ripped the door off. That was the joke.
The ring or something.
It took me a minute. I didn't write the joke down, and then when he brought the door up, I'm like, "That's what it was."
The door. The door was the highlight of the match.
The
He could have just said some announcers would say Katie barred the door, but he didn't say if I was some aging fossil. Like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm stuck on that, but I'm just like, fuck you. In that moment, I'm like, fuck you.
and at this point, JR isn't even that fucking old.
I know he's in his 70s now, right? Late 70s.
So back then, he's in his 40s. You know, he's not an aging fossil. It's not like and no offense to him, but it's not like it's 96 and you've got Gordon Soley out there.
Oh, good night.
I mean, and I'm not hating on Gordon. I'm just saying at that point, Gordon was an aging fossil, you know. I mean, it is what it is, but
yeah, take a stab at Jim Ross. Like you said, Aaron, that was definitely Paulie. All day. And then he made the comment right after right when the pin was happening about how Douglas sacrificed the Sandman.
Yeah, and that's kind of the story of the finish is
he let it happen.
Yes, yeah, he let it happen. He sacrificed Sandman to pin Raven because Sandman had saved Tommy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sandman saved Tommy, but Douglas saw Sandman getting crotched into the ring post by the Bruise Brothers and just was like, "Yeah, no, I'm taking the pin. I'm not going to help my partner.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the pin."
Yeah, I mean, Christ, Raven was laying out for a long time too. Like I wasn't expecting that to be the pin because Raven was out like for a while, and all this was going on while Sandman's getting posted and crossed and everything. Douglas is standing there, and all of a sudden he just covers Raven, and it's like 1, 2, 3. And I'm thinking, damn. And that was a long time for Raven to be out.
Yeah.
Especially do a stupid finisher like the belly to belly.
On the table?
Just stupid fit.
I mean, on the door?
Yeah, I just like it's a stupid finisher. I've always thought it. I even thought it when they gave it to Magnum. It just doesn't work.
You never did it in an amateur wrestling match or a street fight?
No, I just think it's a silly finish.
Well, first you got to hug the guy before you can do it. I don't want to hug anybody just to throw them on the ground. I can't get my hands around Bob's big boy anyway.
Man, what if your opponent's a big fat fuck?
That too.
It's a belly to jelly belly.
Yeah, what if you have to fight the Humphrey brothers or whatever?
It's the two Humphreys and Andrew. Fuck you. I hope you get hit by a drunk driver on your way home tonight.
So to close out our show for this week, what kind of score did we give this episode, guys? I gave it a B.
Well, you still got
we missed one thing.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
And it's not a big thing, but they all go to beat down Beulah, and Raven ends up, or Kimona tries to stop him, and Raven ends up knocking her down. So they're setting the seeds for those two breaking up. So
yeah, and I you're right, because I wrote down Kimona gets backhanded like a hooker.
Yeah, right. Well, she was
like her.
Yeah, like she was supposed to.
Not advocating backhanding women, but backhanding.
I totally am. Slap a bitch.
Not advocating ham boning women, but.
But yeah, like I said, I gave the show a solid B. I thought it was a good one match. Focus on your main event guys, your main event story. You know, they had the little in between with Axel to kind of get him over a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it was just focusing on the main event characters and the championship and the champion and his crew and their enemies. And you're also setting the seeds for feuds, you know, setting the seeds because essentially at the end of the day, Shane Douglas was a douchebag.
Brian Lee comes in.
Yeah. Tommy.
Well, yeah, Tommy's going to end up breaking off with Brian Lee. So I mean, you're doing feuds inside of a big feud.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, it's great. You know, you're bringing in new people. The feud keeps going, you know, and it still isn't Dreamer and Raven. You know, keep them apart. Yeah, it was a good
Aaron?
show. I gave it like I guess a B, like a B minus. You know, B minus C plus would be about my range for that. Yeah, it was a solid show. Aaron,
I'd be in and around that too. I mean, we didn't talk too much about the fact that they kept going backstage and it was about whether or not Raven was going to wrestle and Brian Lee wanted to take his place. So I mean, that was kind of the story of the show. And that's why you kind of had that stuff in the middle because they were having storyline wise, they were having to stretch because Raven didn't know if he was going to get in the match or not. But it was a good show, and them doing the thing with Shane, like taking the breaking the foot away from Tommy and Sandman on Raven, and then him watching the pinfall or whatever. They're doing a good job reminding people that even though Shane is on the side of Sandman and Tommy, he's still a heel.
Yeah,
You know,
because
like they don't want the people to get too behind him.
Well, and he doesn't have right.
Get,
his character isn't helping Tommy because he's a good guy. He's helping Tommy because it's a business arrangement.
it benefits him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly why he watched the man get beat up. He was like, "Oh fuck it, I don't need him. That's one less person I got to deal with now." So yeah, it was a good extension of the angle. Yeah, I liked it. You know, a solid B minus, C plus would be good for me. Yeah, I'll take that.
Well, that being said, we got another good edition of ECW here, and it just week after week after week, it just gets better and better and better. Like I've always said, 96 is my favorite year of ECW because, and I'm not, when I say that, I'm not saying that after Barely Legal ECW sucked. I'm just saying to me, ECW peaks at that first pay-per-view. And then
they could
after
have
that,
closed up shop right then and there.
yeah, after that, and again, there's still good stuff. You know, there's still good matches. You've still got RVD and Jerry Lynn and all that stuff. And I know we're getting way into the future here.
Yeah, but it's not the ECW that we like.
Right.
There's money. There's actual money coming in, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The underdog thing kind of goes away, and yeah, and again, like I said, we've got a long time to get there, but this really is from like the end of 95 until the first pay-per-view is peak ECW to me. So I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, can't wait, man.
Aaron, Chad, any parting words for our listeners this week?
Just keep listening, man. Keep watching the product along with us. You know, check out our Facebook group. You know, we still love the questions and the comments, stuff like that.
Oh, and by the way, I want to thank 3 countries. All right. So in the United States, our ranking, we kind of have leveled out in the US. We're still there. We're still in like, you know, the top couple hundred wrestling, which, and you hear a couple hundred and you're like, well, that's not good. No, it is. There's like 15,000 wrestling, like every fucking guy with a computer has a wrestling podcast. So since we kind of hover around still in the top 200 every week in the US, maybe we're up in the, you know, higher hundreds, maybe one day we're down to 200, whatever. I still think that's respectable. But I have to say,
I had to explain that to a lot of people when I talked to them about the show, and they ask, you know, about ratings, and I tell them, they were like, "Oh, well," I'm like, "Dude, you got to understand, it's a pro wrestling podcast."
Every fucking guy with a cell phone and a neck beard has a fucking pro wrestling podcast, and they have like 99.9% of them fucking stink. But anyway, I have to say, and you guys might laugh, but I think it's great. Every single week, almost every single day, I want to thank, first of all, our fans, whoever you are in Norway. you blue-eyed, blonde-haired, Aryan motherfuckers. We're always in the top 50 in Norway. We are consistently, apparently we're big with white people because we're consistently in the top like 100 in Germany. And we are consistently in the top in Canada. So for our listeners who whether you speak English or you're getting us through it, I don't know. Fuck, you must speak English because we do this show in English. But Norway, Canada, Germany, thank you. Thank you for supporting Reliving the Extreme.
Was it Guten Tag?
We're gonna start
Thank
putting
you.
over fucking. We're gonna start putting over fucking Stu Hart and Otto Wands on this show like you can't believe.
Wait till all
Jim
Corbin
Barnett.
shows up in ECW. They're gonna lose their mind.
But whether you're in Germany, Canada, Norway, or the United States, or anywhere you listen to the show, we absolutely appreciate you listening every week.
Yep, sure do.
And thank you. And hey, we'll see you next week there. You know, yeah, you bet you're sure. Yeah, Achtung.
Achtung, baby. Hasta la vista.
Achtung, baby.